Hi, I'm Chelsea Meyer, and you're watching Rock River Current TV. So February is Black History Month, so we are celebrating by highlighting Black-owned businesses, leaders, and organizations in the community. Joining me today is Dr. Howard Spearman. How are you doing today, Dr. Spearman?
I am wonderful, Chelsea. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. So Dr. Spearman is actually the first African-American president of Rock Valley College. And go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you.
Definitely. Once again, Chelsea, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I grew up in Beloit, Wisconsin, and I attended the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. And after UW Oshkosh, I worked there for several years, transitioned over to UW Milwaukee, lived there for some years, then came to Rockford. And Rockford is where I became my first job at Rock Valley College was manager of academic and transfer advising.
Wow.
That was in 2011. Wow. And I am happily married. I have 3 boys. So at least my first and my second, actually, both of them, they grew up with us as we continue to grow and learn about Rock Valley College. So left the institution for a while, took another job, and then recently, as of September 1st, we were able to come back, and I was able to land a position as president and serve in that capacity as of today. So it's been great.
Well, did you know that you always wanted to go into education?
Yes. So, well, I shouldn't say always. You know, middle school, I thought maybe I would be a medical doctor, and then I got to physics in high school, and I thought, well, biology was good, chemistry was good, but maybe I won't do medical. And then I decided to go down the education path. So I was always in education once I entered into college life. And so that's when I made a decision to go down the educational path. When I was a graduate student, that's when I made a decision to go into higher education. And so my graduate program is Student Affairs and College Counseling. And that's how I made that decision. Some coursework helped me to make up my mind that higher education was the path for me and not K-12 at that time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is there someone that inspired you growing up, like, to get into education?
Oh, definitely. So in my 5th and 6th grade, I was at Millennium High School in Beloit, and my principal was Mr. Booker Street. He was the first African American principal that I recognized or was aware of. And then in middle school, my Sunday school teacher and my middle school guidance counselor or school counselor was the same person. And her name was Marilyn Kilgore, and she was always paying attention to me one way or the other. But she was a great influence in my life as well. She has passed away, but she was a blessing in my life. So,
wow.
And there's so many more. There's so many more. I mean, those are the 2 that come to mind right now, but there's so many more that have just planted those positive seeds to keep me moving forward.
And, you know, that's what we need, especially, you know, in this day and age, is someone obviously positive like yourself that's going to make an impact on this next generation. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So obviously February is Black History Month. So I want to know, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Oh, thank you for asking. When I think about Black History Month, I think it's important to acknowledge that, yes, I'm Black. Yes, I'm African American male. And I also need to acknowledge that I grew up in a predominantly white environment. You know, Beloit is very diverse, but yet when you think about the school and the other areas, or the teachers and a lot of the neighborhoods, you know, it's still predominantly white environment. And when I went to UW Oshkosh, well, Oshkosh, Wisconsin is definitely predominantly white. And so I always look forward to Black History Month. I look forward to being reminded of why my culture, my Black culture, is significant in society. I look forward to learning some new things about my culture that I may not have been aware of, or sometimes people may think it's redundant, but you have capacity to learn more or recognize more. It's almost like watching a movie over and over again, and you didn't realize this part or that part until the second or third time. And so I enjoy that. And I truly believe, Chelsea, that all cultures should have an opportunity to share and celebrate their culture. It's a part of who you are. So why be in denial of it? You know, and it's not always, everything is not great about everybody's past, but you know what? It's important to be aware of that, acknowledge it, and so that you don't repeat yourself. But yet, how do you do that if you don't share yourself?
Right. Now, you said you grew up in Beloit and then obviously went to Oshkosh. So did you face any race issues while living there?
Oh, definitely. Whether I was in Beloit or Oshkosh, I even faced race issues here in the area. It's amazing, but I can't think of a position that I've had that somebody didn't assume that I had it because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
Not because of, you know, as Dr. King would say, the content of my character, not necessarily because of my educational ability, not because of my background, but there's always a person or a group that assume that I got it because of the color of my skin. And you have, as a person like me, you acknowledge that you have naysayers.
Yeah.
And sometimes you address them, and sometimes you find other ways. But it's like, you know, you keep it moving forward. You stay positive with it. I've had some harsh realities as far as slurs. Some people who I thought were my friends, where they would get mad or get upset and say or make some racist remarks and things of that growing up. And so that's when you realize, wow, there is a difference between our skin color, or they do perceive a distance. I mean, even sometimes before I even recognize or realize those differences at that level, you're like, wow, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, as a kid, as a high school student, as a professional, as a college student, there's not too many seasons of my life where I haven't had to address some form of racism.
Wow. So do you have any advice for the kids that are growing up that are dealing with that in this generation?
Well, you can't allow it to hold you down. And I'm a person that believes that we need to show much more love than hate. And but if we're not open about our dislikes, if we're not honest about things that hurt us, we bottle it up. And sometimes what happens is that there's it's almost like PTSD or post-traumatic syndrome, right? It's like you don't realize that it's impacting you until finally that last little thing that touched you makes you, snap. And that's why sometimes this happens. And so what you have to do is realize that there are resources out there. And sometimes those resources are as simple as the positive nuggets or people that's in your life that you can speak to and talk to before you make some rash decision. My hope is that young people really continue to grow up and be independent thinkers. Know your past, but know the beauties of your future and what you could do in your future to be successful and to allow other people to be stronger because you've been able to overcome the obstacles in your life. It can happen, but you have to believe in yourself, and you have to know other people are around you that believe in you as well.
That's so powerful. Thank you for being so inspiring to this next generation. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. That is all the time we have for today. Join us next week as we highlight another leader in our community who's making a difference.